best communicator of the occasion. Guest speaker for the evening will be Councillor Karen Stevens, Deputy Mayor of Glenelg Shire, on a topic of which I think we're all very close to and heard a lot about, on community resilience. Thank you all for joining us here this evening in this meeting of Casterton Hospital. I'd like to put forward confirmation of the minutes for the 111th annual meeting, which is conducted at the hospital on the 31st of October 2019. Do I have any members of the board able to move acceptance of those? Thank you, Peter Green. Seconded, Kane Forbes. I'd like to now, as per your agenda, move on with the report presentations. Our first report tonight will be the presentation of the 112th annual report of the Board of Directors, which you received as you came in this evening, sorry. Not sure what day it is. The annual report, just by the way, which you have picked up this evening, that will also go out to our community through the Casterton News next week. So it'll be a full, fairly wide publication, and that hopefully will get some good messages out there. Without further ado, I would ask Ms. Meredy Rowe, Board Chair, to come forward to do the presentation of the 112th annual report of Casterton Hospital.
As Owen mentioned, the reports in the documents that you've received, if you're here, will be in the paper, and it's also going to be on our webpage. So I'm going to speak to the key points rather than read out the document, as you can read it afterwards. And I think one of the key words is despite. Despite that, carry on. I think that we've all had to go despite this year, and the things that the hospital staff have had to despite are, first of all, the cyber attack, the ransomware cyber attack, which meant that people got used to not having email, having to write their notes by hand. In other ways, involving confidentiality of records and accurate recording of records. The cyber attack has resolved successfully and safely, but the second despite that everyone has been dealing with is, of course, the pandemic COVID-19. And that is ongoing, and I'll talk about the things that we've had to do to deal with COVID-19 as an organisation, along with the government and our key partners. So we've continued to provide services to the community and financial sustainability despite those two things. During the lockdown for COVID-19 in our community, the Department of Health, as they are now called, did a lot of communication with staff members, involving lots and lots of web meetings, latest updates of strategies to manage things, and that's affected all departments in the hospital. I would like to thank and recommend the services and their managers that have continued to deliver safe service with new delivery protocols that at times change daily in our small rural health service. So the corporate services, which are led by Lauren Holm, have had to instrument the procedures that we looked at today when we all came in, the temperatures, the signing in, the hand washing, the mask wearing, along with their other tasks that have been doing all along. Janelle East, who's led the hotel services, which is the environment and catering. Obviously, they had a lot of different things to deal with, different protocols every day. And they've continued to lead the community in safe practice and cleanliness whilst continuing the service to our clients in our hospital and delivering delicious meals to our clients. Thirdly, we have a maintenance service which is led by Steve Zippel, a very prompt service that maintains not only these buildings but offers services to people in the community, as well as run community transport and maintains the grounds here. They are an exceptionally small team and they've done exceedingly well in meeting timeline requirements for maintenance of curtain rods, light fittings, or other more major things. Finally, the team is for clinical services, led of course by Marianne Betson, and she's led a dedicated team, clinical team, who've overlooked the services to our community, Casterton, and our district in urgent or acute care, aged care, and community care. Whilst dealing with daily changes to protocols of how to do that, community care especially has been a challenge with home nursing and health promotional activities having to be rearranged and changed. Some of you would have put your hand up for a Sunday morning walk and then had to have it cancelled because of COVID requirements, and other meetings that were held here for community members to maintain health and well-being have had to be cancelled or changed. Marianne has continued to support staff in professional development at the same time as supervising trainee nurses, graduate nurses, postgrad nurse entry level training, and as well as the odd student, I shouldn't say odd student, the student who's come here to do a placement. So we and the board are very grateful for all those services and acknowledge that they have worked to deliver their services despite all the things that they've been challenged with. That's my thing that's making that flick on and off. We'd like to also acknowledge the partners that we work with. We're a small rural health service, so we can't offer the full range of services ourselves. We have 24-hour medical coverage through the Casterton and Coleraine Medical Clinic and the doctors that are employed there. That's at 24-hour care, but it's ably augmented by the telehealth support that many other small and even larger health services have had needed to resort to for emergency care and advice. And even some of you may have experienced telehealth consultations with a doctor online when one of the doctors hasn't been available for the need. We also partner with visiting specialists, surgeons, anaesthetists, and a number of allied health services, podiatrists, dentists, physiotherapists. Some of the other things that we liaise with is for mental health services and services to high school, where we work with the people that provide those services. We are also ably supported by volunteers in terms of fundraising, and fundraising has come from things like Murray Tamoyne, the Ladies Auxiliary, Friends of Glenelg House, and the Hospital Social Club. Financially, again, sustainably, but maybe some of that's to do with us not being able to shop just like everybody else because of COVID. But we have been appropriately funded by the government. But we've been able to increase our private client revenue, which is an active push by the board to help our residents of the services see that private health or using their private health could benefit them when they're in hospital. And we've also been able to receive Department of Veteran Affairs funding, which is based on activity rating. And one of the other major achievements has been the Glenelg House residency being kept at 99.8% occupancy. So the financial details are in the report, and I won't refer to them especially, but they're a major achievement and much envied by other services, health services. Coming to the governance, which is where the board works with the executive to make sure that we meet the requirements the government has, we've completed and signed off the 2019-20 Statement of Priorities, which ensures future funding, and we're working on the next lot of Statement of Priorities for 20. The other, I always get Statement of Priorities and what's the other? Strategic plan, which is a 4-year plan where we plan out the things that are significant for our community in our situation. So the Statement of Priorities is a work that's been in process. There's a draft that the board and executive and members of the staff have worked on for 2020-2024. That 4-year plan is in draft, and it will be posted to members of the community for their comments. The community engagement is really a significant part of service delivery. The government has put a lot of emphasis on partnerships, and our partnership with our community is a very important thing. So if you receive like a questionnaire in the email, it's relating to this piece of work, and we really would be very keen to hear from you, have your input in it. Some other significant achievements have been the Casterton Memorial Hospital involvement with the Southwest Clinical Accord Group, the establishment of our Integrity Government Framework, and we've worked this year to improve our risk management strategies and protocols and procedures so that we can meet the risk management audit. There's some other things listed in the report that you can refer to yourself. During 2019-20, we welcomed 2 new members to the board. Greg Hart, who has skills and has worked with us on financial audit and risk, and Kane Forbes in clinical governance and community engagement. And from June last year, we also welcomed Dr. Colin Riley to the board, who has great experience in governance practices on a very broad realm, which has helped us widen our perspective. And Elizabeth McKinnon, who's got some business management experience and an engagement with the community quite broadly in a regional area. The board also has faced some despites. Board meetings were often times when we could get together around the table, very privileged times because people were working and away, and this was our time to be together to talk. With COVID, we weren't able to meet, so we were webbing meetings through team meetings like many other people were doing because of work, and that had challenges too. Challenges because of our IT coverage in our region, challenges because of the capacities of people to manage this, the technology, and I'm one of those people, but we did struggle on and managed to have board meetings and committee meetings. I personally thank all the board, my fellow board members, for the time and effort that it took with this extra challenge to meet our responsibilities in overseeing the governance of the hospital and for working with the executive management of the hospital. I extend my thanks to the CEO, Owen Stevens, and to the Director of Nursing, Marianne Betson, for their hard work. For them, it's been hard work too, to work with us as we've all dealt with the despite of 2020. I therefore commend to you the 2019-2020 Year in Review, President and Executive Report. Thank you.
Thank you, Meredy. Well spoken. And we certainly look forward to the years ahead. Could I have someone move that the report as presented by Meredy be received this evening? Thank you, Gerald. Seconded. Thanks, Liz. All in favour? Carried. Right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I just have an overview of our finances for this evening. I won't try not to be too long and bore you, but we will give you an overview. Financial statements of account for the year ended 30th of June 2020 have been completed in accordance with the standing directions, the Financial Management Act 94, applicable financial reporting directions, and Australian accounting and audit standards. 1920 audit successfully was completed by the Victorian Auditor General, reporting nil issues requiring attention. A full set of these accounts will be reviewed on our official website after this meeting. Not directly after the meeting, but revenue, operating revenue for the year, 9.770 million. Non-operating revenue, 137,794. Total revenue, 9.908 million. 2.04% increase in total revenue on our 18-19 figures was achieved. Operating expenditure, 9.512 million. Depreciation, 1.321 million, with total expenditure 10.833 million. 2.42% increase on total expenditure compared to the 18-19 figures. Operating expenditure showed an increase of only 0.97% compared to 18-19, which was a magnificent result in managing our operating expenditure and maintaining that. Net operating result is a reconciliation between the net result from transactions reported in the comprehensive operating statement to the operating results as agreed in our statement of priorities document. Sorry, I didn't mean to flick through that. This will be in your financial report for review. The net operating result is the result which Casterton Hospital is monitored against by the Department of Health under our statement of priorities. You'll see there the net operating result of $103,000 was achieved for the 1920 financial year. I've put in there a graph detailing also the 5-year financial comparative statement showing our results over that period of time. With some changes in accounting standards, there have been changes at various years of the results, but I think you will find that we've been very readily stable over that 5-year period, except for 2018, which I said had some major accounting changes, but all the same, a very good result over this period. Just in graphical sense, just to put it to the members, so you could see that we've usually kept our nose above the line very well. Cash position, we have a positive cash flow of $415,805 for 1920. Total cash and equivalents in our bank, $5.408 million. Accommodation bonds were $2.013 million in that figure. Liquidity remains stable. Net asset ratio of 1.38 is consistent with previous years and well above the Department of Health benchmark of 0.7 ratio. Basically our ability to pay people. I also wanted this year to put in there a brief workforce summary which shows our FTE being full-time equivalent staffing across the sectors of nursing, admin, personal care attendants and hotel and allied personnel, which are catering, environmental services, maintenance in that area. We are very consistent from year to year and have in 2020 maintained it at 76.3 EFT. The employee numbers, as you can see there by department, total of 97, and that will fluctuate from time to time, usually between about 98 to 105 employees, depending on part-time or casual staff on deck. I also wanted to bring to this part of the meeting, so it's not totally boring figures, which you probably already glazed over by now, but our solar project summary. We installed a 100 kilowatt solar system, which was funded through the Department of Health with an interest-free loan of $91,064. We couldn't get a grant, but we can get an interest-free loan. Oh well. Initial estimates of solar output were 139,000 kilowatts per annum. The estimated annual savings on electricity cost was $31,642, resulting in the system paying for itself within 2.9 years. Cost of electricity has fallen. Our cost of electricity has fallen from $144,503 in 1819 to $112,086 in 1920, a saving of $32,417. Actual electricity savings for 2019-20 is slightly ahead of projected savings, and at current trend will result in a payback of the system in 2.8 years. Just once again in graphical format, just to show our generation of solar generation, as you would expect through those periods of November, December, January, our highest periods, but we have a daily output information comes through to us and is very well managed, both on the on the system's maintenance and our clocking of the data which comes through. So it has been a very successful project for us, and one project which goes towards us trying to make us more sustainable as we go into the future. I think there are 333 solar panel array on our roof space. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Excellent. Mary noted in her talk just before the appointment of board members, officially I'll note to the board, to our community through the annual meeting, that the Life Governor, or the Governor and Council, sorry, under section 33(7) of the Health Services Act 1988, appoint the following process as people as directors of the Casterton Hospital: Mrs. Bromman Roberts, further appointment through to 2023. Dr. Colin Riley to 2023. Mrs. Liz McKinnon through to 2023. And Mr. Peter Green got a further appointment through to 2021. So congratulations to those members, and we thank them for their time and effort. And I'll also note that under government legislative requirements, Mr. Green has to retire as a board member at the end of this term. They are to retire after 9 years. We sought additional service from Peter via the government, and they would only allow us another year. But thank you, Peter, for your 10 years of great service to the hospital. I would now like to ask Ms. Liz McKinnon to come forward to introduce our guest speaker. Thank you.
Thanks, Owen. I'm not sure Karen needs much of an introduction in this room, which would be fair to say. I've had a both professional and personal relationship with Karen for nearly 20 years. I was a cadet journalist 20 years ago at the Hamilton Spectator and had counsellor Karen often on the phone because there was something new to promote in Casterton. I don't think there's been anyone quite as active as an advocate, a lobbyist, a promoter of this town in recent times. So I also got to work closely with Karen at Glenorghshire Council, and we had a lot of fun promoting particularly the Kelpies in recent time. So since I've left, Karen's actually become the Deputy Mayor. So I've got some notes, I should stick to the script. She was first elected to the Glenorghshire Council in 2002, back when I was the cadet journo, and served as Mayor in 2004-2005 and again in 2012-2013. So she's held a number of significant roles in the community and led some significant projects, and I think one of them namely is the Kelpie Centre. Karen was very significant in getting that project off the ground, bringing international tourists through to Casterton, and we hope that they see them return again very soon. She's been extensively involved in the community as a volunteer and a founding member of the Casterton Kelpie Association, which is about to celebrate its 25th anniversary very soon. She's also married to Owen Stevens and has 6 children and 6 grandchildren. I actually think I made a mistake. I didn't meet you through the paper. It was as a real estate agent. Karen's face used to be often next to all the house sales in town. She was a very active real estate agent, so promoting, probably for 30 years, promoting this town. So Karen's going to be talking about community resilience tonight, and the work she's done at council, particularly in recent time. I'm sure she's got quite a strong message to share with us all. So please welcome Karen to the microphone.
Thank you, Lizzie. And I got out of that one, didn't I? She could have said anything. As we know. Okay, thank you. Is that right? Do you want to? It's okay. Okay, that's fine. All right, that's fine. Thank you. Thanks for that introduction, Lizzie. And first of all, I'd like to acknowledge President Meredy Rowe and also Vice President Gerald Smith and all of the Casterton Memorial Hospital Board of Directors, CEO Owen Stevens and Life Governors, Mrs Betty Collins, Mr Terry Baker, Mr Edwin Edge and Mr Graham Shepherd. And most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, I'd also like to acknowledge that we meet tonight on the lands and waters of the Gunditjmara people, and I pay my respects to members past, present and emerging. So I thought I'd just, I'm trying not to bore you tonight. Community resilience is something that we do every day, but I don't think that we understand that we are actually doing it. I thought I'd start with perhaps January 2020 and just see how are we going to do this, Lauren? You don't touch this, do you? You want me to go that way? So January 2020, some of these cheeky faces you'll know. So, you know, we were pretty normal and it was okay. So we were actually quite happy with that. By February, I think that some of us were thinking this is going somewhere where we're not really sure what we're going to do. And certainly by, this is interesting, Lauren. What are you doing here? Yeah, what are you going to do here? What are you wanting? Get out of here. Oh, God. And this was us in March. By March, we knew that this was just going to go somewhere where we weren't really sure about. Do you want me to? No, I have to tap it like that. Okay. Okay. So I've been asked tonight to talk about community resilience. We all know what the community means, but what does resilience actually mean? Resilience is our capacity to recover quickly from difficult situations and tough arrangements. So how do we build capacity? I think I cited that one of the things that we could do, and one of the things that I found was the hospital supported the Casterton district community right at the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic with good, concise information. You'll all remember these formats that appeared in our local paper. And there was a community expectation that the hospital would provide good, clear information, telling the community what it needed to do and what to expect next. The hospital is a trusted source, so it was important that the hospital had a voice. The pandemic is being run by the Department of Health and Human Services, so it was appropriate for the hospital, and that's what people were looking for. Locals took on board that information and knew clearly where they could receive support if and when they needed it, and you knew then where to access the support. This provided resilience in our community. It required a safety net, and the hospital provided that through good, clear information. So it became a very important tool for the community, and the community responded positively and took comfort in the fact that they were well informed. Of course, the Casterton community has experienced several different floods over the last 175 years since European settlement. And the community has dealt with those in many ways, but probably the most significant way that we've dealt with the flooding in Casterton is with very logical methods, and that's not to rebuild homes in residential housing in high flood-prone locations. We've all seen the historical photos of the floods across Casterton, and if you review those over the years, from the 1880s right through to the 1906 flood, and then by the 1930 floods, you will see that all of those homes down there on the Noss Road, right on the edge of the river, no longer existed. That became resilient. The community understood that they needed to find practical and logical solutions. I think when we talk about community resilience, there are some key principles that we certainly do, and communities respond and bounce back, and they build capacity. So how do we do that? And I think it's interesting when we talk about community resilience that, you know, perhaps even as board directors and as community members, we didn't realise that this was part of our resilience journey through a pandemic when this information was being provided to us. We probably just accepted that that was really good information that we had at first hand from a reliable source. The reliable source was our local hospital, and that's where we expected to get that information from. Of course, it comes in a number of ways. So the key principles, of course, you start with people, because resilience is all about people. People in our community are the ones that stand up and drive, understand what's needed, and then drive the resilience within the community. And Meredy, your board members, they are, you know, stand up in the community and support the administration of the hospital, and look, and as you've talked tonight about strategic planning for the future. And that's about thinking, the ability to understand what is needed and how you can improve the situation. The adaptability, when you're faced with a challenge, to how do you make the necessary changes? What needs to happen? How do you transform things? How do you put those things into actions once you've identified them? So you transform. The sustainability, and we've heard tonight, the hospital board is looking at the sustainability. The CEO, the future sustainability of the hospital by reducing its energy costs and reducing that and using solar energy to power the hospital. Sustainability looks for vision into the future. What are we going to do to plan ahead? And it takes courage. It takes courage to do these things. You need to confront these situations and you need to challenge yourself. But at the end of the day, those people that stand up take on that responsibility. Look, as I move around the state in my different roles, and as Lizzie would attest to, regionally, Casterton is seen as a leader. It's seen as a sophisticated, it's seen as a very reliable community and a very resilient community that often has situations where it needs to have that enormous capacity to stand on its own 2 feet, be a community, and really come together. And over the generations, we have seen great leaders. Some of you will remember the significance of the 100 years and the history of the hospital. If we look at the history of the hospital, it tells us a great story about our community banding together to establish this hospital. And the board of directors are continuing with that. Yes. So I do have one more picture if I can actually get to it. But I'm not quite sure, Lauren, how am I going to get down? I think I've got this, Lauren. I reckon I've worked it out by now. And I'm going to leave you with one final picture, which is really about true grit, and that's called resilience. So the resilience of the dear Kelpie and what we've been able to do with that Kelpie and transform the tourism opportunities and promotion of this town is being built on through true grit and resilience of our beautiful Kelpie. So thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight, and I'm happy to take any questions, Madam President. Okay. You want to know? Okay. So the Coffee Association will be celebrating 25 years of the Working Dog Auction this year. We didn't hold the event in 2020 because of COVID-19. We have now employed the services of a COVID-safe event planning consultant at the expense of the association. Look, we see the event as a wonderful economic driver for Casterton. It brings in about 1.5 million annually to the community. When we promote the event, we promote Casterton, and people come throughout the whole year, not just on the weekend. So we have a number of hurdles to get across. The high jump, for instance, may not look like we always have the high jump. So we will be using technology, and Liam will love this, that we'll use technology. So we will have our big screen, and we may have 2 big screens in the main street. We will probably have a ticketed event where people will pre-book their tickets online. We will have numbers, and certain areas will be for spectator seating is very difficult and challenging. But the festival itself on Saturday has so many moving parts. That's probably that's the problem child. The auction on Sunday is actually fairly easy to run. So we're sitting on 2.9 million of dogs, working dogs, sold through the auction over those 25 years. And that was our final result back in 2019. So we'll also kick over the $3 million mark of working dogs sold. Of course, our breeders haven't had the opportunity to get out there either and sell their dogs. Every day I take about 5 phone calls a day about where can I get a dog, when's the muster on, what's happening, etc. So we are actively out there and promoting that we are trying to work through it. To answer your question, Liz, we're not sure what it looks like. The auction won't change very much, and the auction will be online. We did the online auction in 2019, so that will be online again, as well as having the demonstrations, etc. But that won't change very much. We just don't know what the festival looks like yet. Anything else?
Yes, Karen.
Oh, Edwin. Yes, Edwin.
I'm just intrigued with the resilience of the community and so forth. I'm finding that the council is sort of standing back now with the new legislation that we're not allowed to actually liaise with the council, or they don't want to liaise with the community. Can you enlighten us on that?
Okay, I'll just try and unpack that a little bit. So the Local Government Act of 2020, so the old act was developed in 1989, and there appears to be the act is really prohibitive of elected members consulting with their constituents at an operational level. So I think what Ed's referring to is Ed and myself sat on an advisory committee for the Strathdowney Drainage Trust, and I'm no longer able to do that, and council's no longer able to have advisory committees. So it makes it very difficult for us to understand those processes. So we're working through that and trying to just work out how we could possibly do that into the future. So that particular part of the legislation actually came in last October when we were actually in election mode, and was accepted by Parliament. So we're busily doing it. Things like I was on and chaired the Casterton Sale Yards Committee, for instance, and we had a number of agents and transport operators, etc. We're not able to have those committees anymore, but we still need to communicate with those users of that facility. It's a council facility, but we still need to have that engagement. So a really tricky space for us at the moment, Ed, it is, and we're just working with our legal representatives to see how we can have that liaison between those members and council.
Thank you, Karen.
No worries. Anything else? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
So Karen, I've known you for a while, and that would have to be the shortest. I was getting comfortable and all settled in, and it was over.
Well, I was told that
Under pressure.
I was under pressure to keep it really tight and succinct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been a difficult 12 months, and I think it's been a frustrating 12 months for those of us that live this far in the regions and still being subject to the rules of Melbourne. So thank you, Karen. And here's a few flowers I got picked from my garden this afternoon.
Thank you. You've done well. You've done well. Thank you, Peter. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Karen. You need to teach me a bit of resilience when we've got all the grandchildren at home. Okay. Presentations, as happens on an annual basis, the magnificent community groups which support Casterton Memorial Hospital, and I would like to call on any representatives that may have any funds which they may wish to donate to the hospital. In 2019-20 is the year we're focusing on. I'll note from the Casterton Hospital Ladies Auxiliary, do we have a representative here? Mary, could I ask you to come forward, please? Mary. Thanks, Nancy.
The hospital ladies auxiliary raised $631.55, down this year with COVID and everything else, so I hope we can make a better effort next year. And being part of a team raising funds for the hospital gives us all great satisfaction and enjoyment, and a big thank you to the community because they always support whatever we have as a fundraiser. They always support us so well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
They support you, Nancy, because the food's so beautiful. I would ask to come forward if there's anyone from the Social Club, CMH Social Club tonight. Mr. Edwin Edge from the Social Club.
It's my turn tonight. Gives me great pleasure, Verity, on behalf of the Hospital Social Club, to present you with $1,000, which we seem to do fairly regularly. So it's all going to a good cause, and we love doing it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
That's good.
Okay, wonderful sponsors and supporters there. And I'd like now to call on a very hard-working team, sporting team and logistics team, the Murray-Des Moines Committee representative. Shane Gill as president of the Murray-Des Moines team for Casterton.
Thanks, Alan. As Nancy said, it's pretty hard raising funds these days. Any group in this town and throughout the world know it's hard work. But rest assured, the Murray-Des Moines will do our best to keep the ball rolling on. There's a cheque for just a touch over 12,000, Mary.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Pleasure.
Thank you.
If you didn't hear, there was a cheque for $12,064. Fantastic effort once again. Thank you, Shane, and all the members of the team. Friends of Glenelg House, do we have a representative member there? Betty? A new one on you, was it? Oh, show your resilience.
What did we?
The Friends of Glenelg House during the year were able to provide us a cheque with $310, as well as a considerable amount of items to go towards the assistance and support of our residents in Glenelg House. So thank you very much, Debbie.
Thank you, Joe.
The list is in our annual report of donors during the year, and I know it's very difficult at the moment. We're in February already and we're getting ready for our next annual meeting, but anyway, thank you to all our sponsors. Magnificent effort from our community in supporting the hospital over that time. I'd like to note now also the employee awards for 2019-20. Obviously, as a hospital, our staff, our employees are our biggest asset in their skills, education and training which they provide to the maintenance and operations of this organisation is magnificent on an annual basis. So tonight we gladly like to recognise a number of those employees whom have reached a certain service level at Casterton Hospital of 15 years. Now, there's probably not a lot of them here, but I will name them out to the public gallery here. Mrs. Deborah Sealing, 15 years in catering, Deborah is. Mr. Michael Batinsky, 15 years. He's our finance manager and should have been doing your report tonight, but he's on holidays for a week. Mark Noldy, catering department, 15 years. Susan Womble, 20 years. Nursing. Karen Perry, who has resigned in nursing, has achieved 20 years as well. Karen, did you want to come forward and please?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Karen, for your
Thanks,
wonderful
Owen.
work over that time.
No worries. Thanks.
Mrs. Alison Jenkins, 25 years. Ellie not here tonight? Hiding somewhere? Okay. Tasmania, I hear, from the brother. Okay. Mrs. Heather Gill, registered nurse, infection control practitioner, 30 years service. Well done, Heather. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Heather.
Okay. I'll have to get a kiss later, will I? Oh, okay. Or I'm not allowed to do that these days. No, too close. Infection control nurse. And I'd like to also note the magnificent effort tonight of Mrs. Susan Dennett, registered nurse, midwife, 40 years service to Casterton Memorial Hospital. Well done. As I said, it's been difficult to have everyone, as we know, like not a hugely big crowd in our room tonight for obvious reasons, but we certainly thank all those staff members for those many years of loyal and magnificent service to Casterton Hospital, and they have been provided with appropriate gift so that they can purchase and celebrate their own way to go about it. Thank you, everybody.
And there's just one more, which is Congratulations.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you.
You might do something.
My, how time flies. Thank you very much, Board of Directors, and thank you to all those staff for their time and commitment at the hospital. I'd like also to note tonight graduate nurses from 1920 in Harsh Trivedi, Ben McQueen, Andrita KC, and Chelsea Hahn. CMH provides what I believe is a fantastic education resource for graduate nurses and student nurses from across the state or interstate from different universities. And we have a strong commitment to continuing that education for students, as we all do with workforce shortages and the challenges we face. But certainly full marks to Marianne and the team for your ongoing commitment to making sure the next generation of nurses and come through and are educated in an appropriate manner and one which will suit their needs for the future. So certainly congratulations to those graduate nurses, and we look forward to the next lot which is coming through now. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like ask Meredy to come forward and summation, please.
I think that the speeches and presentations have all dovetailed in quite nicely tonight. We've talked about the challenges that we have faced around COVID and around delivering services to our community in a difficult time, health services, but also we've talked about how we've linked in with other instruments of governance like the council and Department of Health to provide reliable information and good legislation and good protocols about keeping us safe. We've addressed challenges that we've all had to deal with in these times, and we will continue to have those challenges, because sometimes being a bit worn out by wearing a mask becomes too much of a challenge. We have to renew the reasons why we're doing the things that we're doing, just like we did when we want to build a house somewhere in a floodplain. This is why we have to review the history. I liked in the Queen's speech where she said about having the flu vaccination not just for yourself but for your community, and I think that's a spirit that has been very strong in Casterton over the last 12 months. I also like to recognise the leading role that our Foodworks played in teaching us all about hygiene and how to meet crises in times, limiting the amount of food we could get and making sure we all had toilet paper and food, giving us a safe means of shopping. These are leaders meeting challenges to help us as a community face our challenges into the future, which will be ongoing as we look at the vaccines and the rollout of the vaccine and all the discussions that will go on about whether it's safe, whether it's not, whether it works, which one we have. These are things that we all need to lead our community in. I do again take this opportunity to thank my fellow board members for working with the executive and myself during this time, and I also especially thank the leaders in the health service, especially Owen and Marianne. So I will thank you for attending and invite you to join us for supper. Thank you.